Oh hey, I'm glad you're here, because this round is on the house. Except for me as a child growing up in a video store because I was too young to drink. I had no idea when I was watching Casablanca what a French 75 was, or in Saturday Night Fever what a 7 and 7 is. I saw Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl drink a green creme de menthe frap and thought, it looks interesting, sure. And once I was older, I love a Negroni. But as a teen, watching Vivian Leigh in The Roman Spring of Mrs. Stone, I wasn't impressed. And yes, every kid knows James Bond drinks a vodka martini, but I didn't want one. I wanted sweet tarts and popcorn. I still want sweet tarts and popcorn. Cinema and cocktails have a deep history, far beyond frat boys dressed as the Big Lebowski drinking White Russians. Like the Gibson in North by Northwest, for instance. I don't know what it is. Couldn't tell you. By the time I could legally go to a bar, I'd seen things that I wanted. Things I wanted to get to the bottom of. A Scotch Mist from The Big Sleep, the Sidecar from Bonfire and the Vanities, the Bloody Mary from Fletch. All mistakes for me, by the way. Those are drinks that I do not enjoy, in any means whatsoever. But in order to know that, I needed help from a person with a special set of skills. No, not Liam Neeson. Which brings me to this episode. The film is Cocktail, the guest is a bartender, and this is VH Us. Hello, and welcome to VH Us, the podcast where each episode is about a film and the guest has the profession or experience portrayed in the film. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at VHS_podcast and find bonus content on the website vh-us.com. I'm your host, Dirk Marshall, and I'm joined in the studio by Alison Degrazzio, who's a bartender at Voicey Speakeasy Cocktail Lounge and Holocene. Did I say that right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know, what is Voicey Speakeasy Cocktail Lounge?
Well, Voicey had just opened up we had a soft opening in December and then really kind of kicked it off January. And so we were kind of not starting. Portland doesn't have a great history of supporting speakeasy bars super well, but we had opened up Voicey. It was a female-operated cocktail bar that was below Loyal Legion. And
Okay.
so whoever wanted to go to Loyal Legion, if they were there and saw the hallway door was open and a red light was on, they could go down into the basement. And there was a whole other bar down there with a very different atmosphere, very moody and kind of a 1930s feminine vibe going on. We had a great sunroom, but also just like amazing drinks and cocktails. And it was largely put together by Jamie King, and I can't think of Katie's last name right now. Oh, that poor thing. I'll get back to you with her name. I feel
Sure.
terrible. But anyway, they are just these amazing heavy hitters for as far as female bartenders go. And so it was a really great project that just didn't get very far. So we're hoping that once everything is kind of over and done with as far as COVID is concerned, we'll get back on it.
Yeah, it's one of the things that when you had mentioned working there, I was like, I've never even heard of this place. And my wife and I had been out somewhere and we said, where should we go for drinks? And somebody said the Loyal Legion. And we were like, is that the right place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that's not really our vibe. And what they were talking about was Voicey. And I didn't know it until I looked up the pictures and I was like, this is beautiful. Like, this is the place where I want to go have drinks.
It's gorgeous down there. And forgive me, so Katie Stipe was the
Okay.
other. She kind of runs everything that's going on there. But it's a gorgeous bar and a completely different vibe than what's going on upstairs. Which is,
Yeah.
I love Loyal Legion. They've got a great staff there, but it's definitely more of like a relaxed fit whiskey and beer kind of a joint. And so yeah, if you were looking for a $15 cocktail made by some sweet sexy ladies, you came to us.
Yeah. That sounds great. And then Holocene is at an event space here in Portland.
Yeah.
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 How long have you worked there?
I've worked at Holocene off and on for 3-4 years. Sorry about that.
Okay. What's the worst crowd?
Oh geez. Oh man.
Because you don't get like
Well,
insane
yeah.
clown posse at Holocene, but
No, but there are. You know what it is there is a night once or twice a month,
yeah.
and you have like the younger crowd come in where it's 21-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
read college students that are coming in to like blow off some steam,
Yeah.
and they're just so
Yeah.
very entitled for being so young and for also having no money.
Yeah.
So I also like to remind them, when they're ordering drinks, I'm like, does your mom know you're here?
Oh,
Okay,
that's great.
thanks.
Yeah. Oh man, Holocene. I tell you, I've seen some things there. Uh, there used to be a smoking room there
Oh
that
yeah.
had the meat curtain like over it, like the
Uh-huh.
plastic curtainy thing.
Yeah, that's now the VIP room if you can
Oh
if you
wow,
can
that is
believe it.
hilarious. Oh my gosh. People can find more out about you on your website, solid6.buzzsprout.com.
Mhm.
And on Instagram, you are Cat
I have
8 Woman.
so many Instagrams. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, Cat 8 Woman, your kitchenwitch.apothecary, and at monster.bang.bang, and solid6.podcast.
Yes.
Um,
Lots of projects.
yeah, so um, first and foremost, that you're also Solid 6 Podcast on Twitter and on Facebook. What is the Solid 6 Podcast?
Solid Six Podcast is a really great show that my partner and one of our great friends do together. So the theme of the show is each one of us takes turns picking two films that have a similar theme. Maybe they have a similar style
Mhm.
or era of film, and we go in. We used to do both films at the same time, which was a marathon, but
Yeah.
now we have one film per episode, and we go in and we break down more the technical aspect of how the film gets created, and more of the background of the director, writer, producer,
Hmm.
to figure out kind of where they were emotionally and mentally in their life when they go into creating such an enormous project.
Yeah.
So the three of us have a huge love and respect for film, and we were chit chatting about it all the time. And then Brady, brought up the idea that the three of us do a podcast. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
great. It's also awesome if you love film to have a podcast that changes sort of the way you look at movies. Like for this, I now watch movies and I'm like, what jobs are in this movie? Which is not something I ever thought about
yeah,
before. So it's cool to enjoy film in these different ways.
absolutely. I actually find it really humorous to sit down and watch like a movie like Society,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, I'm like, someone had to make the Butthole Monster,
Yeah.
and I love that they probably had a small team working on the Butthole Monster,
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
for sure.
just maybe having that little like thought makes me really enjoy what I'm watching.
Yeah. Or you just think about how hot it was during the shunting and they're all under that like rubber and they're probably all so sweaty. I mean, the smell of that would have been awful.
Absolutely. And and then I wondered, how many of those like 60-plus-year-old actors
Yeah.
really knew what they were getting into when they auditioned for that movie.
Yeah, seriously. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, Society is amazing. What are the different accounts that you got going on here with your Instagram? Cat 8 Woman is
Cat Eye
just
Woman's,
you?
yeah, it's just my personal account.
Okay, perfect. And I see your cat behind you.
Yes, that's Johnny Utah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Lovely.
being a babe.
Hmm. Okay, and then Kitchen Witch Apothecary.
Kitchen Witch Apothecary, I make my own skincare products.
Okay.
So I they're all natural, and then there's the use of medicinal and therapeutic herbs in there to it's called Kitchen Witch Apothecary Natural as Fuck.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and so people that are kind of looking for a more natural approach to holistic skincare, things like that,
Yeah.
I'll work with them to make unique recipes for their particular skin type, or they can just kind of go from whatever's on sale. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's great. And then Monster Bang Bang.
Monster Bang Bang is my kind of my horror film nerd hangout,
Got
where
it.
I also like to make maquettes and kind of make my own monster creatures using Sculpey or wed clay or monster
Yeah.
clay, things like that. And
Awesome.
yeah, also
It's a shame
costumes.
you have so many interests.
Truly, truly, because none of them are doing well for me.
That's great. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm always like, this is what I'm super into, and Nobody cares.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just you find yourself down the strangest Reddit subreddit things
Oh,
for
yeah, yeah.
things. Yeah.
Oh, but the reason I'm joined by Allison isn't because we're just going to talk about strange Reddit things. We're brought together by the film Cocktail. Was this a first time watch for you?
It was a first time watch.
Oh, great.
Yes.
The synopsis of the film is a young, ambitious New York bartender becomes the toast of Manhattan's Upper East Side, but when he moves to Jamaica, he finds love and gains a new perspective. What a synopsis.
That's my review of it was male friendships. What do you
Yeah,
know?
that's pretty good. There's a lot of that in here. We'll get to it. At the time of this recording, you can rent this movie at Movie Madness here in Portland, Oregon. You can stream it on Amazon. You could buy the DVD or the Blu-ray, which, I mean,
I
I don't.
mean,
eh,
I don't know if that's one
ah,
that people need to
n-
have in the catalog.
no. Let's put the film in context. We got the director Roger Donaldson did Sleeping Dogs in '77, a few more Australian films before No Way Out in '87, Cocktail in '88, and Cadillac Man in '90. Oh yeah, White Sands in '92. I was really into that one. The Getaway, Species, Dante's Peak, still going. Pretty
Oh
amazing.
man.
Yeah. The cinematographer is Dean Semler. He's another beast. Did Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior in '81, Razorback in '84, Thunderdome in '85,
Wow.
Cocktail and Young Guns in '88. Dead Calm, City Slickers, K9, Super Mario Brothers, Bone Collector, Apocalyptico,
Wow.
and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
That's you know what, I'm truly blown away by City Slickers.
Yeah,
I
I just imagine them forming the team for Paul Blart and being like, "We need the cinematographer from Razorback." Like that's just
100%.
or Apocalyptico. They're like, "This will work in like a mall set." I mean, it's so
Work
weird.
is work is work.
Yeah. The editor is Neil Travis, did Jaws 2 in '78, Cujo in '83, No Way Out in '87, Cocktail '88, Dance with Wolves in '90, Patriot
Wow.
Games, Bicentennial Man, Along Came a Spider, and Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
These are impressive backgrounds.
Yeah, I know, you wouldn't expect it from Cocktail, but it's, that's the pedigree. The actor we have is Tom Cruise. He was originally supposed to be 40 in this script. Much like Basinger in Cool World, once he was attached, the script completely changed to make the film lighter. Other people considered were Jim Carrey, Charlie Sheen, and Michael Keaton.
Jim Carrey, no
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. I just like the casting where they had Jim Carrey and Michael Keaton in the same room.
100, yeah, 100%. Because I can understand Michael Keaton, but Jim Carrey,
Yeah, or Charlie
oh.
Sheen, like he's pretty gross. That would fit, you know? He could make that work. The actress Kelly Lynch said it was far darker, but once Disney was attached, they reshot a third of the film, making the movie all about flipping bottles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
well,
is.
that now I'm disappointed.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. Uh, Tom Cruise has been in mostly big films, but only has 50 film credits, which I think is interesting because Keanu Reeves started 3 years later and he has 107.
Yeah, but like if you think of like their body of work,
Yeah,
like Keanu Reeves, who I love,
yeah, sure.
has some pretty interesting choices
Well, yes,
in
yes.
there.
There's the
You know,
mailbox one where they send
y-
the letter.
exactly. Whereas Tom Cruise, I don't always think he deserves the praise that he gets unless it's a scene where he's crying.
Yeah, he does. He does cry.
He cries very well.
Yeah,
He cries very well, but I
that's a good point.
that's the only time where he's not Tom Cruise for me in a film.
Yeah, that's true. There is an interesting thing that in American Psycho, the book by Bret Easton Ellis, uh, Patrick gets in an elevator with Tom Cruise and tells him he likes his performance in the movie Bartender, and then Tom Cruise corrects him to say the movie was called Cocktail.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Isn't that crazy? So weird. Our last actor is Brian. Oh no, we have two more. Brian Brown. He was in FX from a previous episode of VHS. The role was originally offered to Robin Williams, who couldn't do it because of Miss Doubtfire, I believe, and also considered. This is pretty great. Tom Hanks, Keanu Reeves, and Bill Murray, who couldn't do it because of Scrooged.
I really can't see it any other way than how it is. Can you imagine Bill Murray being that Well, so being Doug, was it supposed to be Doug?
No, he would, Brian's character, Doug, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so imagine a movie where Bill Murray is that character and Jim Carrey is Tom Cruise.
That's a whole different movie.
Yeah.
It might have been a hit.
It could have been. I don't know. We would have watched Bill Murray go to Jamaica for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd watch it now.
It would have been a cult classic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have Elizabeth Shue. She was in The Karate Kid, Adventures in Babysitting, Cocktail, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Soap Dish, which may or may not have been covered in this season, and Leaving Las Vegas. And she's still going strong, yeah. Also up for this role was Jodie Foster, Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, and Molly Ringwald turned it down, and so did Heather Graham. She turned it down to do License to Drive.
Wow.
Yeah. Weird move.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Lastly, our writer, which we have to talk about, is Haywood Gould.
Such a good name, by the way.
Yeah, Haywood. Come on. Based on his real life experiences, he also wrote Fort Apache, The Bronx, and Rolling Thunder to prove he doesn't kind of squeeze poetry into every script he writes. But let's press play on Cocktail.
Yeah.
We start off with baby blue neon and some serious island vibes that transition into Kenny Loggins, I believe. I'm not quite sure. We see Tom Cruise in a car full of soldiers with a siren going, which marks the first moment of the film I didn't understand what I was seeing. He gets on a bus, and that's not how buses work, but that's what's happening.
How angry that bus driver was.
Oh, seriously. And luckily, they had a seat. I mean, it's just so weird that he, like,
great. Totally acceptable. It's 88.
We get a montage of the bus ride, a lot of bus vision, which I always love as it turns to face New York City, so you can see what the bus sees. We needed that.
Look at there. Mike, look at that.
Now Tom has a baby on his lap that he's talking to, and I found that very disconcerting, and I looked on the internet and could not find what happened to that baby. So next we see someone walking 10 dogs and one person walking one dog, but they're stopped to pick up dog poop, and Tom looks all smug like, well, there you go. And
that's not going to be me. They were all like, what breed of dog was that? It was all this, oh geez. Some breeds. Glorious, beautiful.
Something rich people have?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Like
but
20 of them.
Another good time to mention, this is based on a true story. So that scene with the dog walking had to be in there.
100%.
He's like, no, you don't understand the struggles I went through. I once saw someone walk dogs. Tom takes the subway completely by himself, which marks the second time I was confused at what's happening. He gets a beer and drinks it behind the bar, so there's the third thing. He puts on a suit and heads on over to Wall Street.
And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to succeed.
I appreciate that, Flanagan, but all our professionals have college degrees.
I catch on pretty quick.
We see a succession of failed job interviews because he has actually no experience in anything.
And it was such a reflection of, like, they were going through this whole montage of people saying that he needs an education, he needs a degree. And I was like, oh, it's the same. It's just like now.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, you're not qualified for anything. And he's like, yeah, but I want to be rich. And they're like, huh? Yeah. Everyone wants a job, buddy.
It was the tail end of the 80s. He could have made it.
That's true. He sees a help wanted sign in a bar, and then we get Brian entering the picture.
Bar's closed, pal.
I know, I'm looking for the manager.
What's the matter? Find a hair in your quiche?
I'm going to mention this numerous times, but there was 40 rewrites of this script.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 40.
Outstanding.
And this line made the cut, which is pretty amazing.
Outstanding.
Brian's making a red eye. What is that?
A red eye is a hangover cure.
Okay.
So generally it'll have a little bit of alcohol, a lot of spice to it. It opens up your blood vessels. You sweat all the toxins out. So it's kind of like if you think, this is disgusting, but if you think of like a Bloody Mary with an egg in it.
Okay. Yeah, it looked pretty gross.
Yeah.
His version had beer, something red, a pill, and a raw egg.
Yes. It's basically anything that pushes you through the next day.
Got it. Okay. Well, Tom gets the job in Q Tutti Frutti.
Get your act together!
For some reason, this season has a lot of Little Richard in it, of the podcast. So I don't know what's happening, but we see him working, and he's flustered, and he doesn't know what's happening. And people are yelling out drinks, and he calls the server a bitch because a Cuba Libre is a rum and coke. Is that a thing?
Yes, a Cuba Libre is it's a rum and coke with a lime on it.
Oh,
And I've had people, I've had that situation where I'm busy as all, and
yeah,
someone will ask for it. And it's one of those things, when you, just like anything, the repetition in your body, you start to memorize the cocktails as they come in.
sure.
But when you haven't made something in a while, sometimes you have to like take a second, look it up, see what it is. And every time I look up Cuba Libre, I'm always like, just say
Yeah.
fucking
You bitch!
It seems like such a dick move just to
It was-
call
it was-
something like.
yeah, it was totally valid.
Okay. Some of the other drinks they call out an angel tip, a peach squirrel, a dangling, and a dirty mother. Are these real drinks to your knowledge?
I've never made any of those.
Okay.
I do have my cocktail book with me, just in
Okay,
case you
well.
start hollering things out. But
I will say it's a little early in the recording to play a game, but nonetheless, it's time to play real drink or something Dirk made up.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
We have 5.
Okay.
Number
Jeez.
1, sand in the crack.
Oh, geez. I'm gonna say real drink.
It's a real drink. It's a mix of Malibu, coconut rum, Captain Morgan rum, pineapple juice, and cranberry juice.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Number 2, row your boat.
Real drink.
It's a real drink. And I'm looking for what. Yeah, I did write down. It's Stoli vodka, cacao blanc, white chocolate liqueur, and 2
Ooh.
dashes of a saline solution with fish roe.
Oh, interesting.
Number 3, Mark's flabby buttocks.
I'm gonna say that's fake.
That's not real. Take that, Mark.
Nice.
Number 4, hot gin and tonic.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna say fake.
Oh, it's a real thing.
It's a real drink?
I don't know why someone would make a hot gin and tonic, but it was. I saw it on a couple lists of strange cocktails.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I'll
love
try that
gin,
out.
so I'll try it. And number 5, a duck fart.
That is a real drink.
It is. It
Yes.
sounds terrible.
Yes.
1 ounce of Kahlua, 1 ounce of Bailey's Irish Cream, and half an ounce of Crown Royal whiskey.
Yeah, it's not great.
I try to be a positive person, so I am positive I don't like anyone that would order this.
They get ordered as drinks so often, much like blowjob shots.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you get your group of 9 bridesmaids coming
got
in,
it.
and yeah.
Who doesn't love those groups of 9 bridesmaids? Comedy Cubs love it.
They're my favorite.
Oh, bartenders, they're just a treat. All those plastic penis necklaces.
Come back next Thursday. I've got 5 shifts open.
You're offering me a job?
Uh-huh.
The waitresses hate me.
Well, you wait till you've given them crabs. Then you'll really know hatred.
Tom gets to keep the job, and the next day he goes to math class. Moving on, Brian shows him some essay techniques of bartending. That doesn't even make sense. I was also drinking. Less is more. He says less is more. The less you pour, the more you score.
The less you pour, the more you score. The boss does better. We do better.
And the customer?
Think of the customer as a hurdler thinks of a hurdle, a means to an end. We dazzle him with icework. We baffle him with bottle work.
I was so offended by that.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
too.
Yes, I have never. Your customers are so important that you want to make sure that you want it to be a positive experience, because it ends up being positive for the bartender at the end of the night.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean to be so crude, but they are the ones ultimately paying my rent. They're the ones
Right.
paying my bills, and
Sure.
and so they should be getting what they pay for.
I agree. No one wants a watered down beverage. I
Hell
actually
no.
really love the thing that's happened. I don't know if it's everywhere, but definitely I feel like in Portland, these more spirit forward beverages that are smaller, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
they're probably from the classics, like
Mm-hmm.
I can't even think of them, but they're always served in these ornate little glasses,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
you're not like chugging it. You're having little sips of this delicious concoction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about that
Just
actually.
yeah, just even just a nice little like digestif or aperitif.
Yeah.
If you can have like a nice like Aperol is a really, really nice
Mhm.
one for that. If you just want to sip that with like a little bit of soda or an ice cube, it's just so
Yeah.
nice to kind of, it's spirit forward, but it's also
Uh,
got so many great flavors to it.
I
Needs
love
to
it.
be sipped.
Because I mean, it's all about mood. Some days I want a white wine spritz or I want something that I can drink a lot of.
Absolutely.
But, sometimes you go for the aperitif, just a little something. The trick for me is to remember which one I'm having so that I don't gulp the more like alcohol forward thing.
Sure.
Because I definitely had some mishaps with canned champagne before that we won't get
Oh God.
into.
Oh yes.
Oh,
100%.
hmm Brian rattles off some pours, and Tom calls him Obi-Wan, which is something.
The short pour. The long pour. The ice mountain, the spring thaw, the speed rack shuffle, the hot shot. You will learn them all.
Yes, Obi-Wan.
Because he's not really teaching him that much.
No.
Tom's learning the tricks of the trade, and the next shift there's some dancing that made me feel uncomfortable.
Let's make some money for a change! Yeah!
There's I don't mean to brag.
Sure.
I dance a lot behind the bar,
Nice.
but I'm a good dancer.
There you go. How
It
much of it
break-
is shoulder work for you? Because there's so much shoulder work.
So much shoulder. There's a lot of shimmying. There's a lot of back arches.
Yes.
There's been a death drop before.
Ah,
But Tom Cruise looks like your father's had too many Bud Lights
yes.
at a barbecue.
Yeah.
Like bouncing the shoulders up and down.
Yeah, he's too young to be dancing so old. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Like he and Brian have like the same moves, and it shouldn't be like that. Like Brian should look
No.
at him like, "Whoa, the kids these days, this is crazy." But
Yeah.
instead, they're identical.
Yes. Yeah. It was uncomfortable.
It's so bad. Next, Brian has a monologue that's quite unsettling.
See, the name of the game is woman. Little darlings come in a panting. The little hearts a pitter-patting for the handsome, all-knowing bartender. And in their wake, a parade of slobbering geeks with one hand on their crotches and the other hand on their wallets. You get the women, you get the bucks, and boy, oh boy, you've got them. Buttons were popping, skirts were rising. When you can see the colour of their panties, then you know you got talent.
Then he slides Tom a shot and says, "Beers for breakfast, drink or be gone." So my question for you is: alcoholism rampant in bartending?
It is, unfortunately. And I would say it also depends on where you work and the environment that you put yourself in. And also the age of the staff.
That makes sense.
If you have a younger staff, it's hell and it's hell and high water. Everyone's being fully irresponsible. And I've worked at places when I was in my 20s, where the bar across the street knew us. So on our lunch break,
Oh, sure.
I would get a pint of Castadores and I'd go back to work and I'd, be a little bit more loosey goosey. But yeah, unfortunately it can be.
Yeah.
So
At least in Oregon, we can't buy the bar staff shots.
yes, yeah, that's true.
Whereas I don't even know where I was where that was happening, but I just was staring at it. I think it was New York. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Well,
It was crazy though.
there was almost even a zero tolerance for taste testing.
Yeah, the straw test.
Straw testing. So,
Yeah.
which is really important.
Yeah.
As a good bartender, you want to put out a good product that is a consistent product.
I
or
want a
if
French 75. You know what I'm saying?
yes, a good one. And it's important to make sure it's going out and you're not missing an ingredient.
Yes, exactly. The next day, one of Tom's teachers asks him to write his obituary, which he does while drinking, which I thought was very,
That was great.
very, very cute. The next day, he gets tie-tie in class, and the teacher notices that he's getting sleepy from working too hard at the bar. But before we know it, we're back in the bar, and here we go with Robert Palmer's Addicted to Love.
And the girl, like, with all of her beautiful 80s makeup, doing the
Yeah.
little Robert Palmer dance for him.
Yep. And Tom's cutting the sound out so they can all sing together because the best bartenders are also DJs. I think we all know that.
I've done
This entire section of the film is building to how Tom becomes a bartender. But what we don't really know is how you began your path with spirits.
Oh.
So please share.
Sure. I had been working in hospitality, or I started working in hospitality when I was about 19 or 20, and I started bartending at 24. And I was working at a very well-known beer hall in Southern California, where we had 64 taps and over 100 bottles. And basically, what had happened is I had a manager come up to me and go, "You're fast. You don't take any shit. We're going to put you behind the bar." And I didn't know lick about anything.
Yeah.
And it was embarrassing. And it was a lot of humbling moments before you get the hang of it. So, people, it's awesome when your customers know about spirits or drinks and they want to tell you about it, but it's also hard when you're first starting out and you have no idea what they're talking about.
Sure.
So, there was a while where I didn't know that there was a difference between tonic and soda.
Most people don't.
Yeah, and I only ever drank spirits on the rocks, so I never had any mixers.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there was a very, very sharp learning curve, and then I had the great experience to be able to work with Ryan McGarian, who runs Oven and Shaker, and he's got a great bar program. It's a great way to be trained, and then kind of go out into the world and have all this knowledge. So I worked for him back in 2015 and really had a whole world open up to me, because of course you can make vodka sodas all day long, but knowing the 5 basic cocktails and why they work and how to manipulate them and why certain spirits work better than others, he really taught that to me, and I was appreciative of that. So,
Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
a very turbulent road.
I love the that tutelage aspect of things, especially with spirits and things where there's just thousands upon thousands of a tequila or a vodka or whatever. And when you understand these special qualities to these things and can educate people, I take that as value too when I'm there and the person's like, "Have you heard of this spirit?" And I'm like, "No." And then they tell me, and I'm like, "That's incredible. I'm going to drink this and forget what you just said."
It is really, it is incredible. And I always thought of it as like, if you were a painter and your palette of colors gets larger and larger and larger. So now you can create a more elaborate image because you have so much more to work with. And that's what it felt like when I really started to learn how to bartend, was just like, oh, I've got all these colors to play with. We can make all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, one of my favorite moves to do. First, I like to have something off the drink menu at a place, just to see what they're working with, what they're doing. And then I like to ask if they don't mind to just make me a gin cocktail that's either like something like botanically or not juniper-y. And then I just love to see what they do. And it's always exciting, except for when they just bring me like something very basic.
Sure. And gin is already very botanical, depending on which one you're choosing. So there's not a whole lot of tweaking you have to do. Do you like spirit forward, or do you like refreshing or citrusy, or?
In the restaurant setting, I want something more spirit forward.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I usually say not sweet is the only thing I say.
Perfect.
Yeah. Tom is studying, but things are coming apart. And he's tired, and his teacher hates everybody's business plans in a scene that I don't understand why it's in the movie.
Is this the Trump, when he references Trump? And I was so upset.
And my own personal favorite, Mrs. Sheila Rivkin.
Oh my God, he's got my paper.
Mrs. Rivkin has spent the last 20 years burning her husband's dinners, but now decides she wants to become the Donald Trump of the cookie business.
But luckily there was a moment where I was like, man, they just don't even know what's coming.
Yeah, okay, right. 1988 Tom Cruise. Oh, man. So now he must go find something to do, and he's drinking and wondering with Brian, oh gosh, what are we going to do? And they get drunk and they sing Walking Down the Street.
Chantilly lace and a pretty face and a ponytail just a hanging down.
Oh Baby, That's What I Like, I think is the song. I didn't care for it.
Oh, baby, that's what I like.
Next, Tom Cruise is eating pizza, and none of this film is believable. I don't... I don't think he's ever eaten pizza or carbs.
He didn't strike me as I felt like they wanted kind of a like an average Joe
Yes.
character. And Tom Cruise is so he's so lovely to look at. And
Yeah.
he never strikes me as kind of the average college dropout who's eating leftover pizza.
Right. I think if they'd put Judge Reinhold in this part, I think it would have fit perfectly. I think it would have been awesome. But Tom Cruise just makes sense as like once you see him in Jamaica, you're like, yes, this is where your kind would be. Some kind of vacation spot. Like you wouldn't be behind a dingy bar somewhere.
No.
You know, it's just so strange. Another place he won't be is on the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia, which is where there's a real-life multi-level nightclub called Cocktails and Dreams.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's named after the film. And there was a TV show also called Cocktails and Dreams, which starred 3 people from this movie: Brian Brown, Lisa Barnes, and Gina Gershon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And then next in the film, we get the Hippie Hippie Shake. We get tandem bartending. And it takes them an entire song to make 2 drinks, which proves this is...
Which is... Watching that, I was cringing so hard. If it takes you, especially because it was a multi-leveled, huge bar.
Yeah.
And the fact that they look like they're 12 people deep the entire time, which is just basically the mess of the line that you have to deal with as the bartender.
Oh yeah.
And so to spend an entire song to do all the flair to make 2 cocktails.
Yeah.
Those people are not clapping for you.
No.
They are screaming at you.
Yes, I have been to shows at a place maybe that you've mentioned or not, where the line was like 6 people deep, and I just never could get to the bar because there's some kind of sideways sliding thing happening in the line.
It's
and
hard.
I felt like my head was going to explode. Then they put a bar in the other room, and I was very happy.
It's tough. It's tough when it's that chaotic. There's times when I lose track of who's next, so I just yell at people to whoever yells the loudest gets served next.
Sure, which I'm a small mousy man, so I'm never gonna get a drink then. I'm just left to scurry around amongst the cigarette butts on the ground, which no, that's not real. You can't smoke in there. But
I would help you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Because I'd have to get on someone's shoulders otherwise to do the whole thing with the long trench coat, like with another person underneath there. So it's like I just look like a very tall person, like in a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Anyway, this scene reminded me of when we do events and somebody has a coffee stand at the event and they're only doing pour over. And you're like, 14,000 people come through this event. And they're like, I take pride in my little timer. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, nobody cares. This isn't the right, read the room.
Yes.
Don't do hippie hippie shake.
I don't want to be too negative, but I 1,000% agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. One man yells, "Why are you wasting your talents here?" Which is something no one's yelled at anyone ever. But I'm going to introduce that to every customer service interaction I have from now forward.
There 2 guys like you wasting your talents in a hole like this.
The bag boy, I'm going to say, "What are you doing wasting your talents here?" If I get called, I'll be like, "What are you doing wasting your talents here?"
I hate to rain on your parade, but I've had that said to me.
No. It's a real thing.
It's real. It's very real.
What are you doing wasting your talents here? I've just been living my life the wrong way then.
Yeah, it's serving your very round face, sir. Here's your drink.
Yeah. Next we see Club Cell Block, which is there's a billionaire poet, and this marks the 75th time I was like, what's happening in this movie? The crowd chants more poets, which has never been chanted anywhere, even at poetry readings. And according to Hollywood, this is based on reality. This is based on a man's memoirs.
Interesting.
But as I said, this is the 40th version of the script. So the one thing I find very fascinating about this film and why I think it should be studied in college is 40 versions of the script, and the bartender poet part stayed through all 40 versions.
But it's also, you said it was adopted by Disney, and it was also
Yeah.
it was supposed to be a very, very dark film before, and it
Yes.
sounds like it's totally different. So now we have Tom Cruise giving soliloquies, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
was
it's insane. I felt like
Yes.
I was on drugs. And speaking of drugs, here's what it's called when you mix drugs with alcohol. A time flip is alcohol and benzidine, and Xanax. Either one is a time flip. Herb and Al is alcohol and weed. That's got to be written by a narc. That's not cool at all. Herb and Al, come on. Snow coning is alcohol and cocaine.
Makes sense.
Tipsy flip is alcohol and ecstasy. Getting crunk is alcohol and weed. Robo fizzing is alcohol and cold medicine.
Oh, God.
And a Brompton cocktail is alcohol and opioid and cocaine.
What do you even do on that last mixture?
I don't understand what's happening in Brompton or where that's located, but it sounds terrifying.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I guarantee if you did that, you would feel like you're watching Tom Cruise read the poem at this part of the film.
I see America drinking the fabulous cocktails I make. America's getting stinking on something I stir or shake. The sex on the beach. The schnapps made from peach. The velvet hammer. The Alabama slammer. I make things with juice and froth. The pink squirrel. The three-toed sloth. I make drinks so sweet and snazzy. The iced tea, the kamikaze. The orgasm.
Oh, hands off the merchandise.
The death spasm. The Singapore sling, the ding-a-ling.
Ding-a-ling!
America, you're just devoted to every flavor I've got. But if you want to get loaded, why don't you just order a shot?
It's so wild. A lady, Gina Gershon, orders an orgasm, and then the guys do what they do best, make nobody want to ever orgasm again.
I'd like to try the orgasm, please.
How many would you like?
Multiple.
They do so much sex faces while they're dancing, making one drink.
I couldn't quite remember where I had seen her before, and then
Bound, right?
Yes. Well, it was Showgirls.
Oh, yeah, she's great in that. Have you seen Killer Joe?
No.
Oh, you got to see Killer Joe. Matthew
Okay.
McConaughey in my favorite role he's ever played. It's so disturbing. You'll never think of Chicken or Gina Gershon same way again.
Writing it down right now.
Yeah, Killer Joe. Maybe it'll be covered on a future Solid 6 podcast.
Next week.
You work fast. The next thing they cut to is Gina and Tom in bed being frisky. It's total madness. In reality, Gina is insanely ticklish, and so in the scene, he tickles her until she falls off the bed. That really happened and stayed in the movie.
That's actually pretty cute.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty adorable.
If she said it was okay, I don't know if she had.
It was the
given
80s, so
consent.
I'm sure there was zero consent.
That's true, and he's Tom Cruise too. So
I have been doing some research into what it'll cost to set up Cocktails and Dreams. Now, what I have found is if we find the right location, do our own renovation, we can start it up for as little as $75,000 cash.
Which the Tooth Fairy will deliver to our doorstep.
next, Tom has figured out that it'll cost $75,000 to open Cocktails and Dreams, which they'll make in Jamaica. And then he does the voice, which I won't do.
No, man. Which we make in Jamaica, man.
Oh, God, Brian.
But
if
we have the sample, maybe, Tom, you could do it for us, please?
Oh, yeah, man. Very South of Soho. The Caribbean Jamaica, man.
He also does this whole pitch while holding up a poster that's a Jamaican woman's body with the cloth wet, so it's clinging to her chest, and just his head is showing.
And it was one of those beautiful 80s moments of boys and their toys where it's like, Why would you need the woman's head? We have what we need.
Yeah, exactly. It's so
Yes.
gross.
I liked it,
But because it's his head on that body, I'm back in for orgasm.
Oh, yeah, man.
The guys play basketball. I don't know why that scene was there. Back in the bar, Gina comes in and kisses Brian. Tom hits Brian, and it's over between them.
You made a move on Coral?
Had to get my money back.
You knew how I felt about her.
How could you feel anything for an assembly line hump that does the book on the first date? I did you a favour, took her off your hands before she really twisted your mind.
Now, I was confused in this scene because there was the whole thing of Doug having the conversation that Coral was going to ruin his life and mess with his head. Now, I was trying to figure out if he had got Coral to sleep with himself or sleep with Brian to prove a point to Brian, and I couldn't quite figure it out. What was your thought on that?
I think in probably the 38th version, it was a little more clear. In this one, I think I don't know. I just wanted to get to Jamaica, honestly. I was like, we're taking too long in New York. But I also thought that this movie was about the two of them just being wild friends the whole time. And it's kind of more of a drama than it is like funny.
It's their frenemies. It's the worst.
Yeah. And just the look of it, I don't know. It's very confusing. But cue Kokomo, which the Beach Boys wrote for the film. And we're in Jamaica. Some jerk walks up and says he's supposed to get a free drink. People are real jerks. How do you deal with that?
As they come. A lot of the time, it doesn't take a whole lot to flip someone into a better mood. But there also can be an air where someone expects that because you're behind the bar, you're their personal assistant for the day. And I generally don't play well with that. I would say that 99% of the time people are very respectful and very friendly and very fun to talk to. But once in a while, you get someone who wants to step all over you. And so I try sometimes to keep in mind, like maybe they had a bad day, or maybe
do they like send drinks back or things like that?
Not necessarily. Well, sometimes they'll send a drink back, but mostly it's how they speak to you. You know, there's no thank you, there's no eye contact, there's no you're just a machine there to help them out with their bad day.
Yeah. Gross.
Yes.
My friend just passed out on the beach over there. Do you have a phone anywhere?
No. Speaking of bad days, Elizabeth Shue enters the scene and her friend's passed out. Luckily, Tom hops the bar and runs over to her and says, "What's she been drinking?" To which somebody says, "Champagne." And he says,
"Perfume going in, sewage coming out."
It's true.
What does that mean?
There's something about Prosecco or champagne or sparkling wine where it's actually a little bit harder for your body to metabolize. And so you end up getting a hangover before the day's over. It's one of those ones where you feel the come down rather quickly. So that is true.
Got it. I only drink champagne before bed, so I don't actually have. I just brush my teeth, pop the bottle.
I call them mimosa naps. You know,
Nice.
anytime. Yeah, I get brunch with the ladies, and then I come home and I've got a hangover. I have a headache, and I take a nap.
That's
an
great.
hour later.
That makes sense. I thank you for clarifying that because it did not make sense to me. Her friend's fine though. She's in an ambulance, but don't worry because Bobby McFerrin's "Don't Worry, Be Happy" is about to enter the film.
The musical choices in this were not great.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy.
Yeah, it was a huge top-selling soundtrack at the time.
And every single song stuck out like a sore thumb every time they played it.
Yeah, the director actually apologizes publicly for including Bobby McFerrin's song in the movie because it helped make it a huge deal, and he feels guilty about that.
Oh, that's honorable.
Yeah. The next day, she comes to see Tom at the bar. And wait, who's strolling through the crowd? Brian's back. What are you doing here? He's got two
Mm-mm.
buttons at the bottom of his shirt button. Just so much sternum. I don't understand why men think that like that's what needs to happen, but there you go. Brian orders a daiquiri.
A daiquiri, if you will, bartender.
What's in a daiquiri?
So a daiquiri is a lime drink. So it's usually you'll have an ounce and a half of your spirit. It's usually rum.
Okay.
Can be. I like to use an aged rum. It's a little more flavor, a little more character in there, and then it's 3/4 lime juice and 3/4 simple.
Oh, excellent.
Very simple.
They're talking in this weird poet Shakespeare term. It's really bizarre, which made me write here in all caps, Haywood! Brian's married, I guess? It's very interesting. He's married to a wealthy woman.
You're married?
This is true love, young Flanagan. True love with a kicker. She's got millions.
They go see a band together performing Magic Moment.
Was that Kelly Lynch?
Yes.
The Mega Babe?
I think so, yeah. There she is.
From Roadhouse?
Yes. In honor of this episode, my wife made me a cocktail. I didn't write the name down, but it did involve Cold Tree Gin, Aurora Elixir, lime, and orange blossom water.
That sounds wonderful.
It was quite lovely. Anytime you mix those CBD drinks with alcohol, I think it's got a nice after effect going on there. Yeah, super chill. I still had my bedtime champagne, but it's good. They're hanging out in the dance cave drinking Red Stripe in this scene, a beer that Tom also drinks in the movie The Firm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's the through line of The Firm and Cocktail is Red Stripe beer.
He made it. He finally made it.
They did it. They sway dance, and then there's kissing on the beach that made me feel uncomfortable.
Star-crossed lover syndrome? No.
No. Because I had a premonition that I was going to meet somebody when I came down here.
They talk more like nobody talks is an actual note I wrote down. There's a flurry of only the wettest kisses. One could be describing that as that. There's a lot of tongues pushing into mouths.
Yes.
It's the camera's too close.
It's passion.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
It is not my favorite passion. Suddenly they're riding horses. And then it's a montage. There's a man dancing, Tom drives a Jeep, and then they wrestle in the ocean, which made me write, I would love to see this montage on paper.
I did think that the horseback riding was like very extra.
Yes.
I will
well, it makes me think of Tom now where he's like, I do all those stunts. Like, I wonder if he just was pointing. He's like, I'm going to ride that horse, and then I'm going to drive that Jeep. And like, people are like, whoa, dude.
They were riding the horse, really riding the horse. And I was like, okay. So they either just spent 3 extra days learning how to do this, because why not? Because horses are majestic and beautiful creatures. And
it's true.
I wish I knew how to ride a horse.
My daughter goes and rides a horse, and it looks incredible. I'll never do it. Their mouths are too big and their legs are too muscly.
They can tell I'm a city slicker. Every time I've gone up to a horse, they know that they're big and scary to me.
Yeah.
And they mess with me.
Yeah. It's their bony legs. It's very strange. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Don't tell my daughter. Speaking of the montage being written on paper, the scene ends with her drawing Tom's likeness, and we're like, whoa, she's an artist? Like, she brought all of this to Jamaica?
Which is like, what was that Lionel Richie music video when the blind girl makes his bust and it doesn't look anything like him?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Is it Hello?
It's either that or Dancing on the Ceiling. Which one is it?
I think it's Hello. But yeah, that's what it felt like. She was doing this drawing of Tom. She's like, that's the real you.
Yeah, and then he like steals it, and it makes no sense. I don't understand what. They next sit at a table and talk with people about ashtrays and mini umbrellas, and this is the Flugelbinder scene.
Yes.
What about these plastic things at the end of these laces?
It's probably got one of those weird names too, like Flugelbinder.
Flugelbinder, right.
So, Flugelbinder's not a thing. The plastic at the end of a shoelace is called an aglet.
Oh.
So my question is, why? Why Flugelbinder?
I guess it's binding.
He says it like 6 times. It's like somebody's version of the script. They were like, I'm getting Flugelbinder into this.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. It was a bet someone made with the writer.
It's gotta be. Haywood. Tom wants to be rich so bad. So they do what everyone would do and have sex in a waterfall. Which I think is how you make wishes in Jamaica. I think that's what happens. We get more of Tom Cruise pushing his tongue into her mouth, so awesome. Then they stop, I guess, to build a huge fire and then have sex in front of that, which is how you seal the deal on wishes in Jamaica. first the waterfall, then the big fire. I think that's how it works. Brian shows up and they verbally joust.
How are you making out with that little blonde chippy?
How come I've always got the chippies and you're always with the princess?
Well, that's a question only you can answer.
It's so odd. So I have another Haywood written down at that point. Brian says, look at the rich lady. I bet you can't hook up with her. Bets him $50. The lady asks for a drink, and I think it's Jus de l'amour.
Mademoiselle.
Vodka on the rocks with a squeeze of lime.
Oh, no, this is the tropics. Please try a jus d'amour.
Which they say is the juice of love. Is that a drink?
There are so many drinks that I don't want to say no, because every time I look something up, I do find something new. Let me look in my little cocktail.
Yes, please.
Little cocktail book. See if I have it written down here. No. Nope.
No juice of love. Okay.
No juice of love.
Okay. Well, we know that's not a drink, which means it's time for round 2 of cocktails. Is it real or something Dirk made up? And this is the late night edition.
Oh, nice.
Number 1, liquid Viagra.
That is real.
Real. It's a shot of Jaeger and a third a can of Red Bull.
Which is funny because that would just kill everything, I would think.
Yeah. That should just be called college freshman. That's the only time you would drink those 2 things together. Number 2, a cock-sucking cowboy.
I'm going to say that's real.
It is. It's 2-part butterscotch schnapps and 1 part Baileys.
Yikes.
Yeah, nightmare.
Is it because of what it looks like?
I don't know. Would that look like a cowboy?
It would. Well, I think it would look like the love of a cowboy.
Oh, I got what you're saying. There you go. The love of a cowboy. There you go. That sounds like a better drink. Number 3, ass. That's it. It's 1 word.
I'm going to go with no.
Oh, it's real.
It's real.
Absolute vodka and a splash of apple pucker.
That just doesn't seem fair that these are drinks.
It was on 2 lists I looked up.
Okay.
Number 4, sex on my face.
I'm going to say that's real.
Yeah. Whiskey, rum, peach liqueur, banana liqueur, cranberry, pineapple, and orange juice.
Yikes.
I mean, ugh. Okay. Last one, number 5, blowjob from Tom Cruise.
I want that to be real so bad, Dirk. Is that not real?
It's not real.
We
already covered that blowjob was real. So originally I was going to say blowjob, and then when you said yes, that's real, then I would say I wasn't done from Tom Cruise. But
we could make that a real drink tonight. We can come up with a recipe.
Oh, great. We should.
Okay.
Definitely. And we'll call it the BJFTC. So
I love it.
That way we don't have to say that every time. Tom says to the guys,
wouldn't be any fun if they fell over with their legs in the air now, would it?
Which I was like, come on, guys. Like, I know it's the 80s, but do you have to be so gross?
Yeah, that was it was just one of those. We've just come a long way.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I hope. Elizabeth sees him leave with the wealthy woman. She gets a case of the sads. Tom wakes up the next morning, tucks his shirt in, and runs to Elizabeth's shoe, but she's gone back to New York City late in the night. Bonnie, the wealthy lady, confesses she doesn't want him to leave.
Found my secret hiding place.
The guys at the bar told me. I've been thinking about you all day.
Yeah? Plane ride home will cure that.
What I got there ain't no cure for.
On a boat, Brian offers a deal in his latest venture, but he's in bed with Bonnie in a business sense. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Wait a minute. So Bonnie has investments in Brian's.
Yes. Right?
I don't think I picked up on that.
Well, don't you worry. I won't forget my close friends. Kerry's old man has just backed me in the most luxurious joint Manhattan's ever seen. We open in a couple of weeks.
I thought, now in my impression was that she was baiting
Oh,
Tom
no.
Cruise.
Tom's in bed with Bonnie in a business
Okay.
sense. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Brian couldn't win him over. Sorry, sometimes with the cocktails, it gets a little foggy in the notes
I
section.
understand. I understand.
Wake up! On your feet! Come on! Woo!
Then we're back in New York City, and Bonnie wakes him up doing jazzercise, which is a necessary scene.
Which is also so rude. If he's a bartender, he's
Yeah.
not getting home until 4 or 5 in the morning.
Right. Well, and why doesn't she have, like, she's rich and her whole place is one room? I don't understand why she doesn't have a bedroom.
It's New York, baby.
I guess. I don't know. She seemed like she's doing really well. That was my concern. I had to pause it and be like, I don't understand the real estate going on in this film.
It's over.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not finishing this. Tom wants to get his ideas to her people. He strolls past Jerry's diner and sees Elizabeth Shue. Tom and Bonnie hit up a gala. I love 80s art in movies. I love like anything that takes place in an art museum, or when you see an artist and they're always wearing the most wackiest clothes and you're like, oh, they're an artist.
Oh, they're deep.
Oh, they can't have glasses shaped like normal glasses.
They're considering things I've never thought of.
Yes, exactly. Oh, it's so strange. Tom starts a fight with the artist, which is totally unnecessary.
Interesting work.
Thank you.
Interesting work. It's very urban in orientation. Robert, tell me, how did you get the cockroach to stand still long
You're
enough?
drunk.
And Bonnie tries to get him to stay, but he says,
Jesus, everything ends badly. Otherwise, it wouldn't end.
which is sad, really.
That is that could be like a bumper sticker for someone coming out of college.
That's true. Or me when I listen to maybe too much of The Cure. So he goes to Jerry's. She's not excited to see him. He says he won't leave, so she says, do you want to see the specials? And then dumps food on his head. 2 dishes, which were prepared by the kitchen, which means one of those tables is not going to eat.
It warmed my heart. It warmed the cockles of my heart so much to see that. You have no idea how many times I've desperately wanted to do that.
Yeah. It's a great scene because they chose some really gross food, and the way it kind of clings to his hair is pretty disgusting.
Mhm.
And also because you know what's coming in the film, and I don't think it's warranted. I think that there's these films where the guy commits like adultery, cheats on his wife or partner or whatever, and then he comes back and he's like, just hear me out. And then when they end up together, you're supposed to be like, oh, this is awesome. When I'm always like, fuck that guy. Like, that guy's a shitbag. Like, she deserves better than this guy.
It's crazy that there's like generations of girls that are insecure about their bodies and insecure about being upset about things because of who knows why.
Yeah, I know it's just a movie and it's for entertainment purposes, but it's just those tropes that I
But
just
I mean,
go,
like,
why?
that's what everyone's watching. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't have social media or the internet. They didn't have a way to like socially check what was happening or you know, being like, hey, like that kind of sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
What if? I agree.
Yay, same page. He says he deserves the right to explain, like I just said, and I wrote, does he? Why? Name one thing that he's done that means we as an audience should be like, let's give him a shot. He's a greedy guy. He's terrible towards women. He's terrible with friends.
Yes. Yeah.
And then he blames her for coming on so strong.
Classic dude trope right there.
Yeah. I was just like, this is a terrible character. I mean, if this piece is from, say, the first version where the movie's more like Barfly or something,
then
it makes sense to me. But it's just, ugh.
I was having a hard time with that. Like, how are they going to, like, after everything you've seen throughout the entire film, and now we're kind of getting to the last part, how do you suddenly write in redeemable parts to his character?
His explanation is literally, I only slept with her because I was hustling her.
Hustle her? And I was worth so little to you that you could just take some stupid juvenile bet?
No, you see, a guy lays down a dare, you gotta take it.
Exactly, which is
What
like,
the-
oh, great. Like, okay, cool. Oh, totally, I get it. Don't worry about it.
It's nothing about me. It's all about you, you self-centered jerk. So she says I'm pregnant and kicks him out. So then we're like, oh, great. Now this is so terrible. He goes to his uncle. Says he's going to be a dad. And his uncle says,
You ought to know better than come to a bartender for advice.
so what would be your advice?
My advice. So actually, this happens a lot.
People tell you their problems.
People, yeah, they do. They do want to sit and suss things out. And ultimately, if Tom Cruise is coming to me with this information,
Yeah.
I would tell him to pay his child support and leave her alone.
There you go.
And but like the advice his uncle gave him of like, oh, you can just walk away from this.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like, no, you gotta own your mistakes. You gotta step up to this.
Yeah.
But also like, don't try to make her feel like she's missing out.
Yeah, don't just stick around also because you're terrible.
Yeah. But also, if you could do a couple tricks for me and make me a drink, that might make me
That's
feel
true.
better.
If you could raise your shoulders up a bunch, it's really awesome.
Dance for me like my dad dances.
That's a bumper sticker. I would love that. You read that on a card and you're just like, what? Dance for me like my dad dances? I don't know if I'm okay with that. He goes to see her neighbor, and her neighbor's so helpful. She not only says she's not home, but gives this stranger the address to where she is.
Right? I know.
We learn her parents are rich, which is a great thing for Tom Cruise. The dad tries to pay Tom $10,000 to leave her alone.
What the hell is this?
That's for you.
$10,000. Is that all your daughter's worth?
Okay. How much will it take?
But he rips up the check and sets it on the table, which is just disrespectful.
Like that's supposed to be the redeeming hook that pulls Tom Cruise out of being such a jerk.
Yeah, we're supposed to be like, well, he turned down the money.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
I'm sure he's fine.
Next, Tom sneaks into Brian's bar and begs for a job. They go on a yacht, open a $500 bottle of scotch, and Tom says, let it breathe. Do you need to let alcohol breathe or just wine?
Now I thought it was brandy. Were they drinking
brandy? Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah.
You can. And brandy. Brandy definitely has a life to it as it warms up. There's changes. The flavor profile changes quite a bit, and so yeah, I can imagine if they're having a nice aged brandy. I don't know if it necessarily has to breathe that long.
Yeah.
But
brandy and scotch are two different spirits.
Yes.
And whiskey is a type of scotch or a different thing too?
So whiskey and scotch, my other bartenders are going to kill me. But whiskey and scotch, basically, they're pseudo same ingredients, but scotch, you have peat added to it. So that creates that smokiness, and sometimes those real, like the peaty flavors, or they smoke the ingredients that are going into it, so it has that nice.
Got it.
Yeah, and I have like my notebook around here somewhere. I haven't.
Oh no, that's fine.
I'm sure other bartenders are screaming.
And rye, how does that fit into things? That's a type of whiskey, or?
Yeah, so they're just using rye instead of corn or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
the rye is a thing. It's a grain.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. My wife loves whiskey, and I'm always like, I never know. I'm like, oh shoot, they have rye, they have scotch. I don't know what these things are related, or.
Looking at my notes right now.
Yeah. Perfect.
Should have read some of your sacred books, young Flanagan. The only thing I know about saloons is how to pour whiskey and run my mouth off. I knew nothing about insurance, or sales tax, or the building code, or labor costs, or the power company, or purchasing, or linens. Everyone with a hand stuck it in my pocket.
You must make enough to cover that.
If I'd stuck to what I know best, which is almost nothing. Instead, I put all the cash into commodities.
Brian explains that he wasted all the money because he didn't study finance, which is proof that this film was written and paid for by a high school finance teacher. That's not true, but it feels like it, the amount they talk about finance. Which I was just trying to watch a movie about cocktails. I don't understand.
Yeah. Well, you got to run a bar. You got to run it right.
That's true. That's
Can't just be sexy. Not all the time, anyway.
Story of my life. Tell me about it. Brian passes out, so Tom drives Brian's lady home. She invites him in, tries to come on to him, and he almost falls for it, which is another part where I think we're supposed to be like, oh, he's such a good guy.
I can't make it with my best friend's old lady.
He's got morals.
Yeah, then he heads back to Brian, and Brian's dead with blood everywhere, and I was like, what is happening?
That was crazy.
What? It's so nuts. Like, it's just like, why is this? I want to know what draft that was added.
Right? It was bananas, and it was like it was such a violent suicide.
Because it's still in it, and this is the Disney draft. So, like, what was it before?
It's fine. All right. The main difference between Scotch and whiskey is it's geographic, but also ingredients and spellings. Scotch is whiskey made in Scotland, while bourbon is whiskey made in the USA.
Okay.
So Scotch is made from malted barley, while bourbon is distilled from corn.
It's like a champagne thing. Like, you can't have champagne from outside the Champagne region of France? Or can there be American Scotch?
I don't know.
I've never thought about these words.
I've never thought of
my mouth.
Let me write that in. American Scotch. Yeah, apparently you can get. Well, let me get back to you on that. I feel like a terrible bartender right now.
Oh, that's fine. I didn't know any of these things. So Brian's got blood all over, and so Tom goes and has a cup of soup and a stroll around town. I was like, he's got one of those tiny ramekin cups of like chicken soup or maybe a clam chowder. I don't know. There should be a cocktail cookbook with all these different things, like Tom eating pizza that I don't believe would ever happen.
But like also going back just a little bit, that was the only scene where I was like, okay, I get it, Tom Cruise. I get it why people think you're so good.
Yeah.
It's only in scenes when he's crying. Yes.
Oh yeah. Yes, that's true. He does get sad, as you said, and he cries. He then receives a letter from Brian, and it's his suicide note. In case you weren't sad enough watching Cocktail. Tom goes back to see Shu, but the door guy says no. So Tom jumps in the elevator, goes up to confront Elizabeth Shue. The dad and the door guy and a butler get in there, and Tom assaults the doorman, who was just doing his job.
I know. Yes.
And Shue does the thing we don't want her to do, which means she goes with Tom.
Jordan!
What?
Jordan, I have to talk to you.
What's going on?
Please, there's so many things I don't know where to begin. Doug is dead.
What?
Killed himself.
Brian.
He was my best friend, but he was too proud to let me help him. He was too proud to show how he felt until it was too late. I don't want to make that same mistake, Jordan.
It's a bummer.
Yeah.
And then boom, the movie's like, hey, Flanagan's Cocktails and Dreams. It's really happening. Tom has a bolo tie and a vest to try to distract you from how sad you are. And then Tom's putting on another poem for us, because that's right, we need more poems at this point. That's going to pull us out of this downward trajectory of a plane crashing into the earth.
Well, this poem is entitled Flanagan's Advice to His Unborn Child. Now, if Jordan gives birth to a fine Irish son, there'll be cocktails and dreams for him one day to run. A business that shall yield a financial windfall.
It better.
To be franchised in every suburban shopping mall.
A dynasty. You're founding a dynasty.
Now, if a daughter arrives to bless our clan, I guess the shit will certainly hit the fan. But this I shall promise to thee. I'll never let her marry a guy like me. Still, if our child's the naughtiest of girls or the wildest of young men, I swear I'll be the best dad I can. And never, ever get spooked again.
he works the spooked thing into the poem, which means he brings up his infidelity in a poem in front of her.
In front of everyone.
It's so crazy. And then she says, "Don't worry, it's twins." And the movie ends.
Twins!
Cue credits.
Yes.
What? It's the most insane progression of things happening.
I was trying to describe this. I'm like, is it super 80s? Like, not necessarily. Like, it's not very glamorous, but also like, it's just, I don't know.
The music is trying to make this movie so fun, and it's so bizarrely, it's just so weird. The pieces of this film just don't fit together. Obviously, it did a ton of money, and people don't look at it now as being a great piece of film. I think it's really fascinating because of all these disjointed things and these wild choices. Like, it's just like, and you're supposed to end it thinking, yay for Tom Cruise. What?
Yeah, and I was also like, if this is someone's bar story or their biography of coming through the world as a bartender, but like also it wasn't like that. I still don't feel better about bartenders.
Yeah,
like it, but you know what, I worked with a guy many years ago who almost had the exact same story.
Oh, really?
Grew up bartending and kind of started bartending in Portland, and then had a friend was like, "Hey, let's go make some money in Key West," and did a summer or maybe a little bit more than a summer in Key West, learning flair bartending and just like smashing bits with everybody, and basically woke up one morning and was like, "I don't have a soul," and came back to Portland.
Oh, well.
and it's.
Did he find a soul?
I think so. Yeah,
Oh.
he's a hardworking gent. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily glamorous. I didn't feel like Tom had found his way out.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt like he had been trapped even more.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
it was depressing.
I wrote, what a fun movie. Those two soon to be four will all be fine. I mean,
accents and sarcasm.
Yeah, within the last like 15 minutes, sure, his friend took his own life in a very gruesome way, but you know, now there's gonna be twins.
Male friendships, am I right?
Yeah, we never got Cocktails, which is I think what the sequel would have been.
Was there going to be a sequel?
No, they weren't gonna.
Oh, okay.
No, even though it did so much money, Tom Cruise, I don't think, other than Mission Impossible, does sequels. I don't think there's Interview with the Vampire 2.
There's not a Vanilla
Top Gun
Sky
2 is
2.
coming out.
What?
Yeah,
I
did
know
about that.
No,
yeah.
I did know
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did know that.
Your brain tried to just erase the information from it.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just thinking about the roller coaster.
oh, yeah.
Sick.
More volleyball shots. That's all I remember from that movie is like the volleyball scene where they're all shirtless and oily and.
It's what is the scale when they like the gay scale is how many times you've watched the movie 300? How many times have you watched Top Gun?
Oh yeah, well I just
like it's like how you do the Kinsey scale now.
Yeah, I saw it twice, I think total. Like
so that might make you like a 2 or 3 on the Kinsey scale.
I think so. I've definitely watched things more classically. I just did air quotes, like gay related than the Tom Cruise volleyball scene.
I need more oiled up, shirtless 80s actors.
Yeah.
In my life.
Yeah, in those short like Ocean Pacific shorts.
Yes.
You know, because the board shorts, that's going to throw it off. You need something like cartoonish and small. If the ladies have to wear clothes that aren't really clothes on the beach, then put the guys in something crazy.
Sure. I need the guys to have oiled up legs and very sandy feet.
Yes.
And then it's a movie.
And give them horse legs, like disturbing bony horse legs. Let's bring that in. Oh, okay. Which means it's final thoughts. Anything you want to add to Cocktail before we do last call?
It's it's not awesome, but it's not bad. Yeah. I don't know. we do the solid 6 scale on our podcast. I'd give it probably like a flaccid 4
Yeah.
kind of a situation. It's the story's kind of all over the place. It's a little disjointed. But it's also got a little bit of that like 80s like suntan lotion gloss to it,
Mhm.
where it's like, like it couldn't hurt to have in the repertoire somewhere to
Yeah.
say that I've seen it. So
I would love to have seen the third they reshot. I would like to know what they replaced.
yes.
Because there's
Yeah.
huge plot points that they must have just been like, nope, nope, nope. And much like Cool World or some of these other movies that are just like rewritten, recut, reshot so many times. You have these patchwork like Frankenstein versions of movies.
Sure.
Like, it's so weird it even stands up at all. And that so many people initially went and saw it just shows the strength of Tom Cruise in 1988.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I know that I think James Cameron said this, where it's like if the movie's kind of carrying on too long or something's not working, instead of cutting out scenes, they'll just cut out an entire plot point.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I would be really curious to see what the original. I guess we could just read the book, but what the original of this.
That's true.
Yeah, the book by the same name, Cocktail.
That's right. Yeah, that is a good idea.
Is it?
No. But we could start a podcast that's just reading the original work of episode 1, Cocktail, the book.
Well, the book's always better.
It's too time consuming, to be honest. I don't think I could do it.
It's a depressing book club podcast.
Yeah, there is. I bet there is one. I bet Depressing Book Club is already a podcast.
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. Let me know what that cocktail would be too if it was called Depressing Book Club.
Okay.
Something with drum buoy.
I'm just putting in depressing cocktails right now. Your saddest depression cocktails ranked.
Ooh.
All right. Thanks, Ranker. Red Anus, Purple Nihilism, Locomosa, which is for Loco, and
Cremosa?
Wait a minute. There's one called Becky's Problem, which is vodka and iced tea mix. That's just the mix directly into the vodka.
Oh, just the powder?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And then
that's sad.
Rob Deirdrick's Sweet, Mountain Dew Bacardi.
That rolls off the tongue.
Oh, yeah. I like Red Anus. Sambuca and Coca-Cola.
That sounds good.
It's not, yeah, it doesn't sound bad.
I'd try it. I'd definitely try it with a slice of lime. I don't know what that would be called. Is it a Cuba Red Anus?
Yeah, Cuba, yes. Just say you want a lime.
Are there any common misconceptions about your profession?
That we are social butterflies. There's a big thought that bartenders are real like extroverts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Go, and for the kids, some are, but mostly I would say that a lot of the bartenders I know, when they're done working their week or they're done working their shift, it's really, really, really hard to muster the enthusiasm and the energy to go out and hang out with friends, or it's you have to exude energy all the time and be helpful to people all the time. That when you have a moment to yourself, it's like you're holding on to those seconds very tightly until you've got to go back to work.
It's a lot of FaceTime, a lot of customer service.
Oh, it's a lot of FaceTime, and so it takes a lot of time. I mean, specifically, back when I was working. Thanks, COVID. I needed a lot of recovery time between my shifts.
Yeah. What is a good day like for you?
For bartending?
Mm-hmm.
A good day would be nice and busy with a good flow. I like having a lot of tickets up, and I like making a lot of drinks at once. And when you have those moments where you can look up, you're also helping people that are sitting at the bar. So you've got everything's coming in at 100 miles per hour, but you're also able to navigate. It's like a fun game of Tetris.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always really enjoy that. You kind of get in the flow, and you set up a puzzle of what's the best way to make these 9 drinks in a way that's going to be great and fast, and talk to the people behind me
What's your preferred length of stir spoon? Under 2 feet, over 2 feet?
We're talking a yard. I think that's a
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
absolutely.
I like
Yeah,
that.
it's a power move.
What's a bad day like?
A bad day is same scenario, but you have someone at the bar having a bad day. And that's one of those folks where like you can be having a bad day and that's fine, but those folks that come up and they bark orders at you, they don't look at you, they don't make eye contact, they don't say thank you, they don't have any manners. And so it causes, and sometimes you can just tell that no matter what you do, that person is determined to have a negative experience.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You got to sit there and you're like, okay, like you're being awesome, but eventually you have to either shut it down or tell them to leave, and that always sucks. It's never comfortable to do that, to tell someone like, hey, like you're being an asshole, and I don't deserve that. Nobody at the bar deserves that. So here's your ticket. I'm gonna ask you to leave, and so that always kind of sucks.
Yeah, I would not like that either way. What's your favorite thing about it?
My favorite thing about bartending is it's a show. It's fun. It's you whether you I don't do flair bartending, but whether you do or not, people are always really, really having a lot of fun watching a bartender work. And I like being able to put that show on for people, and I like being able to make everyone at the bar laugh and talk with each other. And so my favorite thing is creating like a cheers environment.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like everyone's participating and everyone's having a good time. And I miss that. That's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. There's a lot to miss these days.
I mean, it's Groundhog's Day. My life is Groundhog's Day.
we went to Scotch Lodge the other day, and they have the patio going.
Yeah.
And it's just not the same, because you know what the inside looks like, and you're sitting out in a patio, and it's like.
Did you go to Liftoff Lounge yet?
No, haven't been to Liftoff yet. It's on our list.
Okay, good. Yeah. But I agree. The first bar we went back to is our favorite, and it's the Lucky Horseshoe. It's that little hole in the wall down on 26 in Clinton.
Yeah.
But it's the same. You can't go inside, and it's just like, oh, my heart.
Yeah. And there's kind of different modes of drinking too. Like Scotch Lodge would be somewhere I would go where I would want the more spirit forward. I want to be able to taste the thing you're paying for. But there's also something to be said for going to a place and just getting beer. I enjoy that very much so. Yeah. I also don't like it in movies though, where people go up to a bar and they're like, beer, please. And you're like, you can't order beer like that. Like.
Yeah, I worked at a place where, and it was bless their heart, but it was always these like older white women that was like, I'll have a cerveza, please. And you're like, okay, well, what would you? Cerveza, I know, but like, it's not a.
It means a lime would be involved.
Yeah.
I think we found a through line with these lime people.
Just put a lime. You know what? I used to tell servers when they would come up to the bar, because usually servers are responsible for garnishing their own drinks.
Oh, okay.
And I used to tell them, like, when in doubt, just put a lime on it.
It's true.
Yeah, if it's too busy and I can't help.
This brings us to the final question. I can't believe we got through all of the notes of cocktail. Alison, what are your dreams like?
Well, my dreams, I have a real life dream to be able to have a full grown man black out by me like holding their neck, and it's so violent and strange. It must be a control issue, but I have.
This is a dream you have?
Yes, it's something that I want to come to fruition, but it's also like I'll have dreams where it's happening. Like I've made it. I've got the arm around, and it's done. And it's I don't know why. Maybe it's
your dream is choking a man unconscious.
Yes. Reoccurring, yes. Yeah, maybe it's all the years of working behind the bar.
That could be it for sure. Especially if at the time he goes unconscious, you just whisper like, "It's limes out for you," or something. Just to tie in the lime situation.
Yeah, but I also get those like work stress dreams that are so banal. It's like I'm teaching someone how to make iced tea, and then I wake up and I'm like, that's what you dream about? Like you
You just
have
put it right in vodka. We already
yeah,
learned
like
this.
yeah, you have 6 hours to do whatever you want, and that's what you came up with? Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. It's always nice to see what your brain is like. Okay, here's what you need.
Yeah. We're gonna work on this trauma right here.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you watching Cocktail and taking time out of your many Instagram accounts.
Yeah, thank you for having us on, or having me on, the royal us, royal we.
Well,
But
it's Solid Six is the podcast. We should mention that one more time at the end.
yeah, you guys can, if you feel like listening in, you can find us on most platforms, for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that. There's also a link to our website on our Instagram page, at solid6.podcast. And yeah, if you like movies, you can listen to ours.
There you go.
So,
And I hope to come and see you at Voicey once this is all over with.
it's not going to be any amazing.
No, I just wanted to be ever so bad. I miss everything. We
too.
took our daughter, because it's summer, she's 6. We're trying to give her some semblance of normalcy. We took her to the coast, stayed in a room, and just the tiny bottles of shampoo and conditioner, I was just like holding them, just like, oh, I never thought I'd see you again.
Isn't
Hello,
it
little
great?
friend. Like,
Yeah.
it's everything so different. It's hard.
This is our new world.
Yeah, it's
A
gross.
whole new
Oh,
world.
there we go.
Well, thanks again for having me on.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you very much.